So we didn't miss the direct today. It was before we recorded.
Well, you know, obviously Nintendo and some of the higher ups at Nintendo are avid listeners, just like my sister-in-law Debbie of Ruminate, and so you know they felt bad for us because I think it was it 2 episodes ago or so they did the
It was the last episode.
Oh, was it just the last one? Because they did the Nindies, right?
Did they do the Nindies? I think I missed that one.
I don't know. I'm losing.
I don't know.
Who knows? You know, time flies when you're having fun. And yeah, so they did. There was a Pokemon Direct this morning, which was very short, but was pretty exciting, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't think I was going to be excited because I haven't played a mainline Pokemon game since Red and Blue, pretty much.
Okay.
You know, which is what's considered, you know, the start of the mainline game. So obviously I played Let's Go, which I think we've talked about. But I wasn't really sure if I was, because I've always sort of looked at some of the mainline Pokemon games, like even recent ones, and I'm like, they don't really look like they've moved forward in sort of because of course they're all on like the 3DS and stuff, which is, although it's a great console, it's not particularly sort of graphically intensive console. So like, I didn't really know what to expect.
Right.
And then I was watching it and I was like, yeah, I've got to have this.
It looks really
like,
nice.
I need this. I need this right now. And it's, you know, it's set in this sort of what looks like sort of the UK type region. You know, it's certainly European, at least for some of the buildings. And you've got like the Sword and Shield, which is the name of the two games.
Right.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited about this.
Yeah, no, it does look like kind of you know, it's got like English references, I think, and it looks like an open world type of 3D world, right? I mean, it looks it reminded me just in terms of concept, I suppose, of Zelda a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, as you say, it's hard to tell because although it was a 7-minute presentation, we really only saw, you know, 2, maybe 3 minutes of the actual game.
Right.
Because, you know, they've spent a lot of time on the 3 new starter Pokemon. But yeah, you're right. I mean, it looks like a pretty reasonable sized game for something like Pokemon. I don't know whether that means, you know, you're actually sort of going to be able to just wander around and do what you want, or if it's going to be, you know, more linear, like some other games are, where, you know, you can only get past this gate. You know, there'll be a dude stood in front of a gate that's like 30 foot wide, but no, you can't walk through. It's really hard to tell with the information they've given us, but I mean, we're still looking at potentially 6 or 8 months before anybody even gets their hands on this.
Yes. I mean, what I guess we did see is we saw kind of a zoom out of the map, which made it look like there was a lot of different style areas, everything from urban areas to mountains and countryside and that sort of thing. And then there was some footage. I guess a fair amount of the footage was, as you said, introducing the new starter Pokemon. So we've got the rabbit one, the monkey one, and the water one, right?
Yeah, so you have got the water one is Sobby.
Right.
The monkey is Grookey, and then the rabbit, the fire one, which I think we can all agree that this is the best one.
It is the best one. Don't add us, but
Scorbunny.
Scorbunny, right? It is the best one. There's really no debate about it. But I agree with you. I immediately knew which one I was going to play first.
Yeah, I think we're Team Scorbunny. Like there's no arguing about that. Like that's the. I don't need any more information. That's what I'm picking.
Yes, I'm with you on that 100%. I mean, it looked really cool. I saw a couple of people on Twitter kind of bad mouthing the new starter Pokemon, that they weren't excited about them. I thought I actually like all 3. I like Scorbunny the best, but it looks fun. I mean, there's, like you said, there's not a whole lot of detail here. We don't know a lot about what the gameplay is like and what exactly is happening, but it was nice. And they said they didn't even give a date. They said late this year. So, you know, I think probably good bet that it'll be sometime in November. Late November, maybe in advance of the holidays, maybe early December, but I don't expect to see it before then.
No, I wouldn't have thought so. I like thinking back to sort of what they showed. I don't think there was a lot else it really revealed about the game.
No,
aside from some of the things that some people were concerned about with Let's Go, like So this new one clearly has random encounters. You're not going to see the Pokemon as you're walking around by the looks of it,
Right.
which is something that's been standard across all the games until Let's Go. But I guess the only other question I have is, can I use my Pokeball controller?
Yeah, that is a good question. I mean, I would think so, right? Well, if they're going to invest in hardware like that, I would think they'd let you.
I hope so, and I hope it supports the Pro controller, because Let's Go doesn't.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Very true.
But because I ended up in a situation the other day where I turned on the Switch with the Pro controller to play some Mario Kart, and because Pokemon was open, I couldn't get back to the home screen because it doesn't support the Pro controller.
Oh, no.
So I had to get up, grab the Joy-Con, press the home button, and then I could continue with what I was doing.
I think that's truly the ultimate first world problem right there, Rob. You had to get up and get your other controller.
It was devastating. Look out for my Medium blog post. That'll be about 5,000 words about it.
Oh, man. So besides that, you and I have also played the new Yoshi game, which I absolutely fell in love with immediately, but it was way too... It's just a demo at this point, right? But it was way too short.
Oh, yeah. I think it's way too short because it's done exactly its job, which is show you enough of it, and I don't know if you have, but I pre-ordered it as soon as I finished. Because you get the one level, and I guess one level in this new game is you go through the level and then you can sort of go backwards through the level.
Right.
And I think I've seen in some trailers that might get mixed up a bit, like you can flip the level sort of halfway through a level, you can sort of hit something and it'll flip it round, and maybe you flip it back. So it looks like there's probably some other mechanics in there that aren't just go to the end of the level and then go backwards. But I played it through by myself, and then me and Jess played the 2-player to see if that was something we were interested in as well. But yeah, I've got this on pre-order. It's coming from Amazon the day it comes out.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I'm going to pre-order it too, but I think I'll just do the digital download. I recently jumped on one of these deals where Amazon was selling a 400 gigabyte micro SD card for, I think I got it for around $80, but I saw today it's dipped all the way down to like $63, which is, I think, the lowest it's ever been. And this is a card that I think normally is at least $200, I think.
Yeah, they can get pretty expensive, but for some reason they're able to also put them on these deals.
Right, and I think one of the reasons probably this dipped as low as it has, I went on camelcamel.com and looked at it, and it's a pretty steady downward slope of the low prices for that particular card. And one of the reasons this week I think it may have dipped even further than usual is that there's a new 1 terabyte card that finally came out, which supposedly has like 160 megabyte transfer rates and things like that, which is, I mean, that's pretty amazing for something that tiny that's like the size of your pinky fingernail, you know?
That is absolutely crazy to me. I mean, other than the Switch, of which I've got a 200 gig card, like, I'm almost annoyed I don't have any use for stuff like this, because I just want to hold a 1 terabyte micro SD card, because
I know, right?
Is such an incredible just jump in technology from, in the last 10 years or something. Where we were still all buying like 1 or 2 gigabyte SD cards and stuff.
Right. And even some of the high-end digital cameras really only require or suggest 100 megabyte transfer rates. And those cards, a lot of photographers will use cards in the 128 to 256 range because, if it's a raw photo, maybe it's 24, 30 megabytes, something like that, and you can get an awful lot on there. It's video when those kind of things get really, where you really need the transfer rates and the high storage. But yeah, I think that I'm amazed that it has that much storage, and it also makes me wonder about things like the Osmo Pocket. Have you seen that new video camera that they have that DJI has?
Yeah, I think I've seen pictures of that floating around.
Yeah, I have one, by the way.
Of course you do.
And so it's a little camera on a gimbal, and it's it's no bigger than like a candy bar, right? It's almost all battery, and you put a micro SD card in it, but it only supports up to 256 gigabytes. And then the camera head sits on a gimbal, and it works a lot like some of these other DJI things that you can use with a phone, but it's so much smaller and so much handier to use. I haven't spent a ton of time on it yet, but it's something I've been meaning to mess around with. But you can fit an awful lot of video on that. I'm just wondering whether DJI will start upping its, the cards that it supports, because I think 256 is where that thing tops out.
Yeah, I think I remember this being a problem, years ago when I used to buy sort of, digital cameras and stuff before phone cameras were good enough. And this was always a thing where, like, the biggest card that you could get was, say, whatever it was, 20 gig or 50 gig, whatever it was. And it always seemed to be sort of the current cameras are always a little bit behind what they would support there.
Right.
So then I assume what will happen, is in 3-6 months or maybe a year or something, the new version will come out, which will then support these 1 terabyte cards. And then, who knows, maybe we'll be at 2 terabyte.
Yeah. No, I mean, the main reason I think for having that kind of capacity, especially with video, is not having to take the card out periodically and transfer it to some other storage medium. I've started looking at some solutions for some outboard storage solutions for the iPad, because, people constantly complain about the lack of a good file system and external storage on the iPad. But to some degree, I mean, I think, yes, we ought to have connected storage supported for the iPad Pro, but it's not a problem that's completely unsolvable now, because there are companies like Western Digital has a wireless SSD and regular hard drive that you can connect with the iPad Pro, and they have an app that can be a document provider in the Files app. So you can...
Oh, very cool.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I mean, you can have an outboard SSD drive that has a built-in battery. It doubles as a charger for your phone, but it can connect wirelessly over like a local Wi-Fi connection that it makes with your phone, and you can actually edit on it wirelessly using something like LumaFusion or Lightroom or all these, various different other imaging apps, which is pretty cool. Another one that's coming out is called the NARBox. It's the video people, right, who've solved this because they've had to, because for the longest time when you connected if you connected external storage to an iPad or an iPhone with an Apple dongle, if it had photos on it, it recognizes the photos, and it offers to import them into the Photos app. But depending on the format you're using and stuff like that, video is a little different. So the video people have this solved with things like the Western Digital thing I talked about, as well as something called the NARBox, which was a Kickstarter, and they had the 1.0 and now the 2.0 coming out, and it's very much like the Western Digital thing, but it's got a whole little Linux computer inside of it, and you can actually, it has a little screen, and you can actually thumb through the menus and do all sorts of stuff with it to back up your DSLR or your video camera, whatever it happens to be. It's super expensive. It's not quite out yet. I think it's coming out in April, the new version. But I think like a 1 terabyte SSD drive from them is like $1,000, and a 500 gigabyte is like $500 or $600 maybe. It's pretty expensive. Western Digital thing is not nearly as expensive. Doesn't do quite as much, but for instance, like the Western Digital thing, you can take your SD card and just jam it in the side and press a button, and it backs up whatever video or photos you take and that kind of thing. So
yeah, I can see those being sort of useful solutions for, as you say, like, because I know you can get an iPad Pro with 1 terabyte, but
right,
it's it is a lot of money to go that high, and I think you really need to be committed to it at that point, which I think most of us probably don't. We just buy the one that we think we're going to need at the time, and then in a year or 6 months or something, we go, oh, I need more storage, or I need this, I need that. So you can, at least there's kind of options to add some of that stuff on it, even if it is a little bit more sort of convoluted than if it was built into the system.
Yeah, I mean that is what's nice about it is that, I mean, if you look at it from that standpoint, if you're buying a new iPad, you could maybe drop down to a smaller storage capacity if you're using this kind of thing. Now, I wouldn't use this kind of thing as like your main storage, but if you're a photographer, videographer, that kind of person, it does make sense to have, one, a way to back up the pictures you're taking, and two, have a way to easily access them on an iPad without necessarily choking up all the storage that's on the iPad. So it is an option, and I think it's the kind of thing that a lot of people who don't do that kind of work, especially video work, don't recognize even exists out there. And it's not just that you can use it with video or photos. You could use it with documents, and they actually integrate with things like Dropbox. So, you create that connection, and it automatically uploads to Dropbox. So you've got all kinds of protection that way.
Yeah, that sounds pretty cool. It's an interesting solution to a sort of weird problem that we've sort of been backed into if you're one of those people that need that.
Yeah, no, definitely. So, I don't know. I mean, that's a weird digression from Yoshi's Crafted World, but I've been thinking about these things because I'm going to be doing some traveling coming up, and thinking about doing some video and photography and all that stuff.
Yeah, well, I mean, one other note on the Yoshi thing. So after I played the game, I was like, oh, I remember there was one for the Wii U, and this was Yoshi's Woolly World.
Right, that's on the 3DS too, I think.
Oh, okay. Yeah, and then he's like he's a yarn Yoshi. And of course, what this ended up with me doing was me looking to see if I could buy a Wii U.
Of course.
Just to play this game. And, I found a couple. They're kind of hard. It's a bit like the Wii in that because it was generally they're going to have been bought for kids. They're not necessarily in the best condition.
Right.
But yeah, I did find myself seriously considering buying a Wii U.
Well, the other
just to play one game.
Yes, the other thing is that most of the really good Wii U games are being ported over to the Switch. So, yeah, you might if Yoshi's Crafted World does well enough, you might see the Woolly World get there too. So I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not. I think I talked myself out of it because there's that, and then there's just the two HD Zelda games that are on the Wii U. 3 games is not a lot to buy an entire system for.
No, it's not. It's not. I mean, I suppose they're not super expensive, probably, but
no, it's I could probably get all of those games in a Wii U for less than £200 probably,
right.
Maybe a little bit less. But that's still a lot of money to spend just for a few games. But talking of Zelda, this was basically the other big part of the Direct from 2 weeks ago.
Right.
Is which game is it? Link's Awakening? Is that the one that's being remade? Yes, that's it. I couldn't remember which one of the older games it was, but yeah. So they've made this just like they've remade this game, but they've made it adorable. Like Link is this sort of like tiny little round person, and he's just the game looks amazing.
Yeah, and I've seen some of the side-by-side screenshots with the original game, and they've done a lot like they did with some of the Pokemon stuff when they brought Pokemon Let's Go to the Switch, which was they've recreated scenes from the original game on the Switch, which look really nice.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't played Link's Awakening, I don't think, to the best of my knowledge. But I'll definitely be picking this up. I mean, it looks like they've really put a lot of effort into doing what they did for Let's Go, but doing it for Link's Awakening.
Right.
Right. And is that coming this year, did they say?
I believe so. I'm already forgetting exactly when. But you know what this did to me, Rob? This set me down an immediate rabbit hole because we have a lot of old electronic gear at my house. And I knew that somewhere in this house there was a Game Boy Color. And so I went and I found the Game Boy Color, and I started digging through the old games, and I found the original Link's Awakening.
Nice.
Yeah, so I fired that sucker up, and it worked perfectly fine. The speaker on the Game Boy Color was pretty much dead, but with headphones I could listen. And I played for a little while, and then I realized, this screen, the Game Boy's Color screen was just not very good. So I
No.
so I immediately got out a 3DS and bought it on the virtual console, because that's better.
Oh, okay.
You can get it
yeah, I
there.
hadn't considered you can do that.
Yeah. So it's there. I mean, I think one of my kids played that game forever back in the day, and so I downloaded it on the 3DS and start playing there, because the colors and just the resolution of the screen and the sound were all so much better on the 3DS. But it looks like a ton of fun.
Yeah, I'm thinking maybe a 3DS might be a better thing for me to buy.
You don't have a 3DS?
I do not. I have a DS, but I don't have a 3DS.
You at some point must have owned a 3DS.
No.
Oh, Rob. You think
No,
you think you know somebody. You think you know somebody.
The handheld consoles, like I had a Game Boy when I was younger. Don't really know what happened to that. That's making me wonder where that is now, but it's definitely not at my parents' house.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, I never found a I never got to the point where I sort of wanted one of the. Not that I wouldn't have wanted one if somebody had given me one. But I always just ended up playing on sort of home consoles rather than handheld. I mean, the DS that I've got isn't even mine. I bought that off a friend who was getting rid of it. And I have a Vita that I picked up cheap because I wanted to play a couple of games on that. But no, I don't have a 3DS at the moment.
All right. Well, its days are numbered. There's no doubt about it. They're not showing up in the directs anymore. I would go out. There's a lot of really cool ones that are themed. There's one that is themed like the Super Nintendo or the SNES, as they say in the UK.
Yeah.
There's one. I think there's a Pikachu one.
Yeah, I've seen a Pokeball one as well.
Yeah, there is.
And actually, the orange and the blue one, the two different versions. That's the new 2DS, right? Like those look really nice.
Yes. I think if I was buying one now, I would go with that large 2DS. It's got some really awful Nintendo name, like I don't even remember. I mean, I
think it's like the new 2DS XL or something.
Yeah, something like that. Because I actually turn the 3D off on my 3DS 99% of the time, and just play it like a 2DS. And there's no reason to buy a 2DX or 2DS XL, because that's essentially what it is. It's just the 3DS with no 3D capability. There's no other real advantage, I don't think. But
yeah, I definitely don't have any interest in the 3D stuff, because I know that will either not make me feel very well, or I'll get motion sickness, or
right.
A bunch of other stuff. Like my eyesight's not particularly good either, so that probably won't help.
Yeah, no, but yeah, you can get one of those. I went digging around, and it took me a while to find this Game Boy Color. In the process, I found my I found a DS Lite. I found another DS of some sort, my PS Vita, a bunch of iPod Shuffles, the original iPad 1.0. I don't know. I have a whole bunch of stuff. I put a picture on Instagram of some of the stuff that I found that night. But I really should.
Yeah, it seems like you got a whole treasure trove of old tech in there.
I did. I mean, so much of it we've thrown out, but some stuff I do hoard a few things. I have the original iPhone. I have the original iPod Touch. I have a few things lying around here. It's not quite of Stephen Hackett proportions. And every time I post a picture of something old, he mocks me on Twitter. So,
well, that's just cruel.
Which I deserve. I mean, I can't really compete with his deep catalog of old Mac gear. But yeah, I have a little bit lying around here.
Yeah, I'm just looking on Amazon at the 2DS. Yeah, we were right. It's called the new Nintendo 2DS XL.
Right.
And there's a few here. There's a black and lime green one that I hadn't seen before.
I like the orange one a lot.
Yeah, the black and green one comes with Mario Kart 7 pre-installed.
Oh, that's not bad.
And yeah, I mean, there's the Pikachu one and there's the Pokeball one as well. I don't know. I might have a word with my friend who runs the secondhand game shop and see what he's got.
Yeah.
So I can save a little bit of money as well. Because I mean, these things are they're designed for kids. They don't break, not really. Like they're pretty sturdy machines.
Oh, they really are. I kind of wish you could get a better deal on them now. You really can't. I mean, like that one you're talking about with the Mario Kart is like $150 still.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, this is what's crazy to me. Like, I'm looking at all of these, and they're all basically the same price.
Right.
And I'm like, come on, Nintendo. Like, why are you not chucking in 2, 3, even, chuck in 5 games for all it matters? Like, because this has got to be coming towards the end of life at this point.
Oh, definitely. I mean, I feel like you shouldn't have to pay more than $100 for one of these things.
No, I mean, and let's not forget what they've done today is announce that Pokemon is only coming for the Switch. Well, they haven't officially said that, but that feels like that's what's happening. I don't know if that's definitely true. Like, maybe it will still come to the 3DS, but with Pokemon moving to what is essentially a home console, that's got to be the end of the 3DS line at this point.
Yeah, I think it is. And that Direct we were talking about earlier, it did not have any 3DS announcements, which I think was the first time that had happened. So I think it pretty much is end of life at this point. That Direct was a weird one. It was a lot of Japanese RPG games. Did you notice?
Yeah, I did notice, and it's not the kind of game that I play. So I just sort of I just skip around, or I'm just not really paying attention when that's happening. It's if you're a fan of that genre, it's amazing for you because there's loads of these games coming out.
Yes, I have a certain friend who lives in Rome, Italy, who was very excited about it. It was like, this Direct was built for me. It's like, yes, it was, Federico.
Yeah,
not for me so much. He loves those games though, and so that's he's got a lot to look forward to this year.
Yeah, I mean, it's great. Even if there's only one game, 2 games in a Direct that I'm even remotely interested in, that's great. I mean, how many games does any one person need? Like, as long as everybody can find some games they like, and there's a nice selection and stuff like that, then that's great for everybody.
Yeah, no, that's true. And you know what? There are a lot of great indie games coming soon to the Switch. I don't think there's going to be any shortage of games for anybody really on the Switch in 2019.
No, definitely not. And we're getting Crash Team Racing.
Right. I mean, it really feels like, we had year 1, which was like a blockbuster year with a lot of first party titles. Year 2 was a little slow because, I think they kind of blew out all the big titles, and it took a while for the other publishers to really realize, oh, the Switch is going to be big. Now we got to make some games for it. And now I feel like the third year, we're going into year 3, we're going to start seeing a lot more great games again.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's going to be good. I'm pretty excited. I mean, especially for Zelda. I mean, for me personally, it's Zelda, Pokemon, Crash Team Racing, which I know is cross-platform, but I'm obviously going to get it on the Switch because it's a party racing game, as far as I'm concerned.
Right. Maybe we should have Animal Crossing at some point.
Oh yeah, because I think the title got leaked. I think it's called like Welcome to Animal Crossing or something. Mm-hmm. That's what all the retailers in the UK are listing it as anyway.
All right.
So, cool. Well, that was a pretty Nintendo heavy episode.
It is, and I've got a couple of weeks of travel coming up, so I'm planning to bring the Switch and really dig in on some of the back catalog stuff that I haven't spent enough time with.
Nice, yeah, sounds good. So I guess if you're going away, we'll organise it off the air, but I guess we'll be back in a few weeks at some point.
I would say a few weeks is probably safest at this point.
Yeah, but no, that's great. Well, cool. Well, I'll speak to you later then.
All right, bye.